Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something pretty big.
Yeah.
Building your own self-managed digital life. It's
A big one.
it's a huge topic.
Yeah.
And the source material we're looking at is a presentation from FUTO software.
Mm-hmm.
And it clocks in at over 13 hours.
Yeah, it's a huge presentation. Really thorough, covers just about everything you could imagine.
Right. We're not going to make you sit through all 13 hours.
No.
But we've distilled it down to the most important points, hopefully give you a good overview of what it would take to actually build this thing.
Yeah, it's really about giving you the tools and the knowledge to sort of assess whether it's something you want to do, and then if you do decide to do it, know where to go next.
Yeah. And it's almost like one of those things where you start with the simple idea like, oh, I'm going to set up a photo app on my own server.
Yeah.
But then you realize like, oh, to do that, I need to be able to access it when I'm not home. And that leads to, oh, I need a better router.
Exactly. It's like a rabbit hole.
Right. It's a total rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So, but instead of tea parties, you end up with your own like personal online kingdom.
Exactly.
Yeah. But first, let's talk about like why you even bother, right? We'll go through all this effort.
Right.
The source material makes a pretty strong case for self-management, emphasizing this idea of, taking back control from big tech companies.
Yeah. They really highlight the shift that has happened over the last decade or so where control and ownership has really moved away from the individual and toward these corporations.
Yeah, and they make some interesting connections, like how the disappearance of micro SD card slots from phones wasn't just some design choice, right? It was
I thought about it that way.
Yeah. It was a way to push people towards cloud services. You know what I mean? Like, you get less storage in your phone.
Right.
Therefore, you're more likely to need to pay for cloud storage.
It's true. It's a subtle way to sort of shift behavior.
Yeah. And speaking of data, they don't shy away from the risks involved in handing over all your data to third parties, right?
Right.
They share some pretty scary stories.
Yeah.
Like the one about Google flagging parents as criminals for sharing medical photos of their kids.
It's terrifying to think that an algorithm could misinterpret something like that and have such serious consequences.
Right, like all of a sudden Child Protective Services is at your door because you send a photo of your kid's rash to your doctor.
And there's no real way to appeal or explain. You're just caught in this system.
Right. So, okay, we've established the why, right?
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the how. And the first step on this journey to digital independence is
We gotta start somewhere.
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's probably something most people have in their home already. The router.
It's true, yeah. You don't think about it much. It just sits there blinking. But it's really the gateway to your entire digital life.
It is. And they go really deep into the importance of the router as like the foundation of your digital domain.
Yeah.
And they talk a lot about OpenVPN exploits.
Right.
And the risks of using routers that don't get security updates.
Yeah. I mean, so many people just use the router that their internet provider gives them, and they never even think about updating it.
Right. So it's like basically if your router is out of date, it's like leaving the door wide open for hackers.
Pretty much, yeah. Every piece of software has vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities are constantly being discovered and exploited. Developers release updates to patch those holes, but if your router isn't getting those updates, you're just completely exposed.
That makes sense. So what do they recommend? What's the solution?
Well, they suggest building your own router. Sounds a little crazy.
Sounds very ambitious.
Yeah, but they break it down, and they recommend using something called pSense on an Intel NUC. Have you ever heard of those?
I have heard of pSense. I've heard of Intel NUCs. I don't know what they are.
Okay, so pSense, it's a firewall. Think of it like the foundation of your router's software. And it's open source, so it's free to use. And then an Intel NUC, it's like a tiny little computer. It's perfect for running pSense because it's small, it's energy efficient, and it's relatively inexpensive.
So you're basically building a custom router.
Yeah, from the ground up.
That sounds kind of intimidating.
It can be, but the presentation walks you through it step by step. And honestly, once you get it set up, it's incredibly powerful and flexible. And the security benefits are enormous.
Okay, so we've got our super secure router up and running. What's next?
Well, you've got this great secure system, but how do you connect to it from the outside world? Like your home IP address changes all the time, right?
Yeah. Like, how is anyone supposed to get a hold of you?
Right. So that's where dynamic DNS comes in, or DDNS for short.
DDNS.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
I have heard of DDNS. I don't really know what it is.
Okay, so basically it acts as a translator between your ever-changing IP address and a fixed domain name that you choose. So even if your IP address changes, you can still connect to your home network using that same domain name.
So it's like your IP address is a phone number that changes every day,
Exactly.
but you have this like call forwarding service or something?
That's a great analogy. And they recommend using a specific service called FreeNS, which is free to use and really easy to set up.
So even if your IP address changes, you can still connect using that same domain name.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And they have this clever trick for testing whether everything's working properly. When you set up FreeDNS, you enter the wrong IP address on purpose.
Wait, you enter the wrong IP address?
Yeah. Because if pfSense is working correctly, it will override that wrong IP address with your actual updated IP address. It's just a simple way to confirm that everything is communicating properly.
That's really clever. I like that. Okay, so we've tackled the router, we've got this figured out, and now things are starting to get really interesting, right? We're going to move on to setting up the server.
Yeah.
Which is like the heart of your sovereign cloud.
The brains of the operation.
Right. And we're going to get into some pretty interesting stuff there because they actually challenge a lot of the common assumptions about RAID.
Ooh, yeah.
Which a lot of people think is like a backup solution.
Right. And they argue that it's not as foolproof as you might think.
It's not as simple as just plugging in a bunch of hard drives and calling it a day.
Exactly. There are a lot of nuances to consider.
Right. So we'll unpack that whole RAID debate.
Okay.
And we'll look at setting up the Ubuntu server. And then we'll get into Docker versus virtual machines.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about there.
Yeah, lots to talk about there.
Looking forward to it.
So stay tuned.
Picking up where we left off, let's talk about that whole Docker versus virtual machines thing.
Yeah.
It's a little unexpected.
It is. Because Docker seems to be what everyone's talking about these days.
Right. It's all the rage.
So why are they advocating for virtual machines?
Well, for certain applications like FreePBX and Home Assistant, they argue that virtual machines are just more practical, simpler, especially when you think about backups and migrating to a new computer. If your whole system is in a virtual machine, it's just easier to back up and move around.
You're just taking a snapshot of the whole virtual machine.
Exactly, instead of trying to back up individual Docker containers and all their dependencies.
Right, which can get really complicated.
It can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not against Docker completely. They actually explain how Docker works, and they talk about this concept of dependency hell, which is what Docker was designed to solve. But for this specific setup, they're saying virtual machines just make more sense.
Okay, so Docker has its place, but for this sovereign cloud, they're saying virtual machines.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so now we've got our server up and running, whether you're using Docker or virtual machines. The next step is configuring the network, right?
Exactly. And they walk you through the process step by step. They talk about using a bridge interface, often referred to as Bro, and setting a static IP address for your server.
Why is a static IP address important? Don't most home networks just assign IP addresses automatically?
They do, but those IP addresses can change. And if your server's IP address changes, that can cause problems, especially if you're trying to connect to it from outside your network. So with a static IP address, you're just ensuring that your server always has the same address.
Makes sense. And they also talk about something called iptables.
Yes.
Which I've heard of, but I've never really understood.
Okay, so think of iptables as a firewall for your server.
Okay.
They control what traffic is allowed in and out. They're essential for security and for making sure that your virtual machines can actually access the network.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got the router configured, servers up and running, network is good to go, virtual machines are ready.
Right.
What about accessing those virtual machines?
Good question. So they recommend using a tool called i11VNC.
Okay.
It's a VNC server. VNC stands for Virtual Network Computing. It basically allows you to control a remote computer as if you were sitting right in front of it.
Oh, cool. So I could be at a coffee shop
on
my laptop, and I could manage my home server.
Exactly. As if you were at home.
That's awesome.
And they emphasize security, of course. They talk about setting a non-standard port for the VNC server just to make it a little harder for hackers to find.
Yeah, they seem to really prioritize security at every step of this process.
Absolutely. They even recommend enabling password authentication for the VNC server just to add an extra layer of protection.
It's like they're building Fort Knox, one step at a time.
Right. But all the security is for a reason, because now we're going to start talking about all the cool things you can actually do with this self-managed setup.
Yeah, what's the point of all this security? Like, what can we actually do?
Well, the source material dives into a ton of practical applications, from setting up a home surveillance system
Okay.
to replacing things like Google Drive and Google Photos.
Wow. So you're telling me I could potentially ditch all of those services
You could.
and run my own personal Google, basically.
Yeah, running on your own server at home.
That's amazing.
They walk you through setting up a home surveillance system using Hikvision cameras and a software called Frigate. It acts as a network video recorder.
So I could see what's happening at home from anywhere in the world.
Exactly, all through your own secure system. And they go a step further and show you how to integrate Frigate with Home Assistant, which is this really powerful home automation platform.
Okay.
So you can set up alerts if your cameras detect motion.
So I don't have to rely on Google or Amazon for my home security.
Exactly. You're in control.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
What about things like Google Drive, Google Docs? How do I replace those?
Well, they recommend a few different tools, starting with SyncThing.
SyncThing.
Yeah, it's a way to synchronize files securely across multiple devices.
So it's like my own personal Dropbox.
Exactly. And for replacing Google Docs and Sheets, they suggest only Office.
On the Office.
Yeah, it's an open source Office suite. It's really powerful. You can collaborate with others on documents, spreadsheets, presentations, all that good stuff.
So I could collaborate with others on documents using my own server.
Yes. And they show you how to integrate it with WebDave.
WebDave?
Yeah, it's a protocol that lets you access files on a remote server as if they were local files.
That's cool. So we've got file syncing, we've got office productivity, we've got home security. What else?
Oh, there's more. They talk about Nextcloud Notes for note-taking, Bitwarden for password management, Imic for managing photos.
Wow.
It's really about building this complete ecosystem where you're in control.
This is like building your own mini Google,
It is.
but with privacy and security built in.
Exactly. And it's not just about the software. They also talk about hardware choices, especially for media playback. Things like acoustic treatment for your speakers.
Oh, wow. So they're really thinking about the whole experience.
They are. It's not just about the technical details, but it's important to remember data security, too.
Right. How do we make sure all this stuff is actually safe?
Well, that's where VLANs come in.
VLANs, okay.
Yeah, VLAN stands for Virtual Local Area Network.
Okay.
It allows you to segment your network
Right.
into these little isolated subnets. Like, you could have a separate network for your IoT devices.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like your smart lights, your thermostats,
Mm-hmm.
and that way they can't potentially access sensitive data on your main network?
So it's like having multiple separate networks within my home network.
Exactly. It's about adding layers of security
Yeah.
and controlling how devices can communicate with each other.
This is getting really advanced, but I can see how it all ties back to this idea of digital sovereignty.
Absolutely. Remember those stories about Google flagging parents for sharing photos?
Right.
With your own system, you control the data.
Right.
You decide what's private and what's shared. You're not at the mercy of some algorithm.
That's really powerful. It's empowering to know that you're in control of your data.
It is.
But this brings up another question. We've built this incredible system, but what if something goes wrong?
That's a good point.
What if a hard drive crashes? What if the server gets fried? All this work could be gone in an instant.
It's a valid concern, and that's where backups and disaster recovery come in.
Okay.
And in the next part, we're going to dive into their strategies for that,
Okay.
which revolve around this really cool technology called ZFS.
BFS. Okay. Sounds mysterious.
It is, but it's super powerful.
Okay. Well, let's dive into that in the next part.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're back, and we're in the home stretch here of our exploration into building this sovereign cloud thing.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we've talked about setting up the router, the server, exploring all these different applications. But now we need to talk about something that I think is super important. Backups
Yeah.
and disaster recovery. What happens if a hard drive crashes? What if your server gets fried in a power surge?
Yeah.
All that work could disappear in an instant.
Absolutely. You're putting all this effort into building this system. You want to make sure that your data is safe,
Yeah.
that you can recover from those unexpected events.
Right. So they actually address this head on in the source material, and they introduce this technology called ZFS.
Yeah, ZFS. It's kind of the backbone of a truly reliable system.
Okay. ZFS.
Yeah.
Sounds a little intimidating. I know it's one of those things that can sound really complex,
Yeah.
but it's actually very elegant once you understand the
So
basics.
break it down for us non-techie folks.
Okay. So think of ZFS as a supercharged file system, right? It's not just about storing data.
Right.
It has all these built-in features for data integrity checks,
Okay.
self-healing capabilities, and really robust RAID configurations that are way more advanced than traditional RAID levels.
So it's not just about having multiple hard drives. It's about having a system that can detect errors.
Yeah, like silent data corruption,
Yeah.
which can be really hard to diagnose,
Right.
but ZFS can catch those things and correct them.
Okay. So it can save you from those oh no moments where you realize you've lost data.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
they actually walk you through the process of setting up an encrypted ZFS pool,
Good.
which is basically combining multiple hard drives into this single protected storage unit.
Right.
And they recommend using RAID Z2, which allows for 2 drive failures without losing any data. It's really about building that resilience into the system.
So if one drive fails, the data is still safe.
Exactly. And if another drive fails, you're still good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so setting all this up, it sounds pretty complex. Do they actually explain how to do this?
They do. They provide detailed instructions, all the commands you need
Oh, wow.
to create and manage your ZFS pool.
Okay.
And they even talk about setting up data sets.
Data sets.
Yeah. For different purposes, like maybe you want a separate data set for archiving camera footage
Right.
or for storing virtual machine backups.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got this really robust, redundant storage system.
Yeah.
But what about actually backing up the data?
Okay, so they recommend combining ZFS with regular snapshots of your virtual machines.
Snapshots.
Yeah. They actually provide a script
Oh.
that automates the whole process. It gracefully shuts down each virtual machine,
Okay.
creates a compressed backup image,
Right.
stores it on the ZFS pool, and then restarts the machine.
So it's completely automated.
Yeah, you don't have to do it manually.
Wow. I don't have to manually back up each virtual machine every time.
No, it's all handled for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then these virtual machine backups, they can be used for disaster recovery,
Yeah.
but also for migrating your whole system to a new computer.
Exactly. So if you want to upgrade
Right.
to a more powerful server,
Right.
you just restore those backups on the new machine.
And everything just works.
Ideally, yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got our data safely stored. We've got automated backups running. We can even migrate the system to a new computer.
Right.
Is there anything else we need to consider?
Well, we have all this data, but how do we actually access it?
Yeah.
Like conveniently. That's where Samba comes in?
Samba.
Have you heard of Samba?
I've heard the name. I don't really know what it does.
So Samba is basically a software suite that lets Windows, MacOS, and Linux machines all share files and printers over a network.
Okay.
Like a universal translator for different operating systems.
Gotcha.
And they guide you through configuring Samba to share specific ZFS datasets.
Okay. So you can easily access your files, your backups, all that important data from any computer on your network.
So I could be working on my Windows laptop
Yeah.
and access files that are stored on my Linux server as if they were just local files.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seamlessly.
Yeah.
And of course, security is important here too.
Right.
They explain how to set up user authentication and access controls.
Okay.
So only authorized users can access sensitive information.
Gotcha. Okay, so this has been an incredible journey, right? We've learned so much about what it actually takes to build this self-managed digital life. What stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway from all of this?
I think for me, it's this emphasis on empowerment, right?
Mm.
Building a sovereign cloud is about taking back control
Yeah.
of your digital life, your data, your privacy.
Yeah.
It's about breaking free from these walled gardens that those big tech companies create.
Right.
And you get to create a digital space that really reflects your own values and priorities. Right. And it's not as complicated as it might seem at first glance, right? The source material we looked at, it's a really comprehensive roadmap
Yeah, it's all laid out there for you.
for anyone who's willing to put in the time and effort.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Start small, experiment, learn, and adapt as you go.
Yeah. You don't have to do everything at once.
Yep.
That's great advice. Now, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. If you were to build your own sovereign cloud,
Yeah.
what unique features or capabilities would you prioritize?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would make your digital domain truly your own? Think about it. Explore the possibilities. And remember, the power is in your hands. Until next time on the Deep Dive.